Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Ooh, I don't like that. Does anyone else find intros so like, I don't want to say cringy, but like whenever I do my intros, I just feel like I sound so all types of weird. Anyways, hello everyone, and thank you so much for being here. We are doing a July TBR video, and I mentioned in one of my previous videos that I wasn't sure if I was going to do TBR videos anymore because the last one I did was for the month of April, and that ended up being a bit of a flop for me. I think I ended up picking 6 books for the month of April, and I only read one of them. I did, however, DNF a second one, and after that, I just like tossed my TBR out the window and read whatever I felt like reading. And then I also thought, I am such a mood reader that while I was in the mood for the books that I had picked for that month's TBR, when it was time to pick a book to read, I just wasn't in the mood for any of them. I kind of quit caring about it. And so in my head, I was kind of writing off doing TBRs. However, we're here, we're back, we're gonna give it another shot. However, this month I did decide to do, instead of a TBR jar, a TBR wheel. So I did find this little TBR wheel. So let's go ahead and see what our first prompt is. So I'm going to hit the little spin there. And we got, title starts with B. I have 2 books off of my physical shelf that we can pick from. The first one I have is Beartown by Fredrik Backman. I have been itching to read this one simply because I hear about it so much. Specifically, I think I hear about it the most from Sarah Carley. From what I know about it, I believe Beartown is the name of this like small town where there's really nothing going on there. The only thing that they have going for them is their, I believe it's a high school hockey team. I don't think it's college. It's a hockey team nonetheless. But then I also think that there is like this tragedy that happens, and so then it's got like this mystery element. Yeah, that's kind of like off the top of my head all I really know about it. Okay, so it does say that it's a junior ice hockey team that are about to compete in the national semifinals. The semifinal match becomes the catalyst for a violent act that will leave a young girl traumatized and a town in turmoil. This is a story about a town and a game, but even more about loyalty, commitment, and the responsibilities of friendship. There we have it. We've got Beartown by Fredrik Backman. Next, we have Betting on You by Lynn Painter. I, again, have been wanting to read this one for a while. This one, I believe, you know what? I'm just gonna skim the back. So our female main character, her name is Bailey, and it looks like she moves to Omaha after her parents get a sudden divorce. She ends up getting trapped for hours with, I would assume, who is going to eventually be our male main character romantic interest. His name is Charlie. So Bailey finds herself trapped for 10 hours with a cynical and obnoxiously opinionated stranger, the polar opposite of her careful, well-behaved, cheery temperament. So imagine her surprise when years later, Charlie turns out to be her co-worker at her new job. Then it turns out that they have a bet where Charlie insists that members of the opposite sex can't just be friends, and Bailey is determined to prove him wrong. I think that says enough about it. So our 2 contenders are either Beartown or Betting on You. I'm not sure exactly what I'm gonna pick because this to me feels like a winter read, but I've never, well no, I have read Lynn Painter, but it's summer and romances just go so well in the summertime. But do I really want to wait until it's like cold weather outside to be able to read Beartown? I really don't think so. So you know what? I'm gonna bite the bullet. We are gonna go ahead and pick Beartown by Fredrik Backman. It is time to spin for our second prompt. So hit the spin button. Oh, a romance. Perfect. We all love a romance. I have a good chunk of romance books to pick from, so I'm gonna pick a couple that like I am more so interested in reading at the moment. Okay, so again, I picked 2 books that could potentially work for this prompt. Well, they do work for this prompt. However, they are contenders in my heart. First one we have is Flawless by Elsie Silver. I have never read an Elsie Silver book before, and this is the first in like an interconnected series. This is, of course, a cowboy romance, if you couldn't tell simply by looking at the cover. Our male main character, Rhett, he is a professional bull rider and considered a golden boy. That was until it all blew up in his face after he got in a public fight. Now his agent says he has to clean up his image, and then he sticks Rhett with his agent's daughter as his like quote unquote babysitter, so she has to keep an eye on him and keep him out of trouble, and that is where I would assume the romance ensues. So we've got small town cowboy romance, Elsie Silver, who I hear nothing but good things about, and I have yet to read her. Next, we also have another Lynn Painter book. This is The Do-Over. I, again, hear about this book all the time. It is some people's like favorite Lynn Painter book, aside from potentially Better Than the Movies. I personally gave that book 5 stars, and I know a lot of other people have also given that book 5 stars. Okay, I'm just gonna read the synopsis. After living through a dumpster fire of Valentine's Day, Emily escapes to her grandma's house for some much-needed girl talk and companionship. There, Emily passes out on the couch, but when she wakes up, she's back home in her own bed. That's not the only shocker, though, because somehow it is Valentine's Day again. And the next day, and the next day, and the next day, she keeps having to do over her Valentine's Day. She's stuck in some sort of time loop nightmare that she can't wake up from as she rewatches her boyfriend Josh cheat on her day after day. In addition to Josh's reoccurring cheating, Emily can't get away from Nick, who is going to be our romance interest, who she keeps running into, sometimes literally, in unfortunate ways. How many days can one girl passively watch her life go up in flames, and when something good starts to come out of these terrible days, what happens when the universe stops dueling out do-overs? Our contenders, we have Flawless by Elsie Silver, and we have The Do-Over by Lynn Painter. I think I'm gonna go with Flawless by Elsie Silver because I have really been wanting to get around to this one because, again, I hear nothing but good things about Elsie Silver. So I think I'm gonna go for it. Going for prompt number 3, and I don't know if I've said this yet, I think I'm gonna do 5 books on our TBR this month. That way I still give myself plenty of wiggle room to read other things if that's what I feel like doing. I'm gonna give myself grace this month. So anyways, spin number 3. Hello, there we go. A book with a green cover. Do I even have a book with a green cover? Okay, unfortunately we're gonna have to respin because I don't have a book with a green cover, and that's like a vague enough prompt to where I don't feel that guilty respinning for it. So again, prompt 3, let's try that again. There we go. A big book that is more than 500 pages. Oh, beans. Okay, let's see what we have. You guys, I am very intimidated. I have one book that fits that criteria. I have several that come close, but only one book on my shelf is over 500 pages. I don't know if I'm ready to start Fourth Wing. Like, okay, so I'm very intimidated by this, and I've been putting it off for a long time because there are some people who just absolutely rave about this, and it is like their favorite series of all time. There are also other people who I know have DNF Onyx Storm who have been really confused and are just kind of like, like it's decent, but it's like not my favorite, not for me. I have never really read a book. Well, you know what? I can't say that. I was gonna say I've never really read a book that like is focused around dragons, but in Throne of Glass, dragons do kind of start to play a pretty big part in it. So I stand corrected. Do I even need to tell you guys what Fourth Wing is about? I feel like everybody knows what Fourth Wing is about. I'll briefly go over it. Our female main character, her name is Violet. She was supposed to enter the scribe quadrant, living a quiet life among books and history, but now the commanding general, aka her mom, has ordered Violet to join the hundreds of candidates striving to become the elite of Navarre, aka dragon riders. So like a dragon rider school type deal. And then we all know, I believe that the male main character, I think his name is Zayden. I think that's who everybody raves about and like drools over. That I could be wrong. Don't come for me. Anyways, so you guys, we have Fourth Wing on our July TBR. We're gonna move on. So we now have 2 more prompts left. So let's go ahead and spin. I need a short book. Give me something. Oh, a book with water on the cover. Okay, I just read a ton of summer romance books, a video coming soon, but let's see what we have left that may or may not have, or that may have water on the cover. Yet again, we only have 1 book that works for this prompt, but it is one that I have been wanting to read, so I'm not mad about it. We have Wild Dark Shore by Charlotte McConaughey, I don't know, forgive me. This one, if I remember correctly, there is this island that I believe it used to be like inhabited. It was something to do with like seed harvesting, I think. But then because of a really bad storm or like natural disaster, it is basically completely abandoned aside from one family that stayed. Then we have I believe she's our female main character. She was like on a boat and washed ashore to said island where this family finds her. I believe that it's got a romance, but it's also a mystery, and this family is like a little eerie. And so I think that's kind of what we got going on here. Mystery, romance, figuring out whose intentions are where, who you can trust. Wild Dark Shore. Okay, on to our 5th and final prompt. We're gonna go ahead and spin. We have a book with a blue cover. Should be easy enough, right? So I have, again, 2 books that fit this prompt. We have, again, Betting on You by Lynn Painter. I'm not gonna re-describe what this book is about because you guys literally just heard me talk about it. And then our second book, we have the 3rd and final book of the Emily Wilde series. This one is Emily Wilde Compendium of Lost Tales. This is a cozy fantasy, and I don't want to say that it's like very cozy, very turn off your mind. It's not fully cozy, but it's definitely not high stakes. But there is a definite plot. They're on a mission, but it's not like, it's just cozy. I think the way that it is written is kind of what makes it cozy. The way that like the environment around them, the nature is described, and the little fairies, like there's, I believe they're called courtly fairies. Those are like the really dangerous ones. They're big, they're powerful, like you don't want to mess with them. And then there are like the smaller fairies. I can't remember, like there's a couple different types, but they're a bit less harmful. We have one that like she becomes friends with in a sense. So I can't necessarily describe the plot of this specific book, but if you are interested, the first Emily Wilde book, this is called Emily Wilde Encyclopedia of Fairies. That one, she goes to this like small town to research these fairies. She is making an encyclopedia of different types of fairies, but in order to do that, she has to go like find them and research them. And from there, her like kind of nemesis that she works with, he's like another professor, shows up to help her. His name is Bamblebee, Professor Bamblebee, I think. Anyways, so there's like a slight romance there, but then they go on adventures and there is some danger, and there's like this shift in environment where like they go through these doors that takes them into like the Fae world, and it's dangerous over there. So they're going on these adventures together. That's kind of the plot that we have in terms of starting the series. And again, like I said, this is the 3rd and final one of the series. I'm trying to think of which of these 2 I would be most in the mood for. You know what? I just remembered that I have one book downloaded on my Kindle. Let me see if this one happens to have a blue cover, because I've been itching to read that too. Let me pull it up just to see if it would qualify for this prompt. Okay, it does not. So scratch that. Never mind, unfortunately. Wait a second. You guys, you know what? This book, while it doesn't meet the requirements for this prompt, it meets the requirements for my last prompt, which we ended up only having one book option for. So the book I am talking about is This Summer Will Be Different by Carley Fortune. This is what the cover looks like. And our prompt for this one was books with water on the cover. This one has water on the cover. I don't know the logistical rules of doing TBRs, but if I'm being completely honest, it's summer and I just read 2 Carley Fortune books. Absolutely loved them. One of them, One Golden Summer, ended up being a 5-star read for me. And I heard that this is like a lot of people's favorites out of all of them. And I have it downloaded on my Kindle. So I'm going to be potentially rule breaking. I'm going to put Wilde Dark Shore back, and I'm going to add This Summer Will Be Different on my Kindle to my July TBR instead. So bye. Now we're gonna back to present time. So we're between Betting on You and Compendium of Lost Tales. And you know what? Let's see. So we already have a fantasy. We have a cowboy romance. We have like a contemporary fiction, I believe, or I don't know what Beartown is, excuse me, but we have Beartown. And then we have a romance. So we've got 2 romances and a fantasy. I think we are gonna go with Compendium of Lost Tales because I really need to close out this series before it like is wiped from my memory and I don't remember what it's about. And this seems like a pretty quick read, in my opinion. The other ones were pretty quick. Ow, I just smacked myself on the nose. Yeah, we're gonna go ahead and read Compendium of Lost Tales for our prompt number 5. Let's go through all of the 5 books that we read. What am I saying? So we ended up picking a total of 5 books for our July TBR. Just a quick recap. So our first book that we picked was Beartown by Fredrik Backman, Flawless by Elsie Silver, Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros, This Summer Will Be Different by Carley Fortune, and then last but not least we have Compendium of Lost Tales. As a fun little bonus, I'm going to tell you guys one book that I am like really itching to read in July. This is a new release and I know that once I get it in the mail, I'm sure that I will pick it up relatively quickly. So a bonus to add to July TBR is Jessa Hastings' new release called Time of Your Life. This is the first book of a new series that she is writing. I heard that she wrote the first book in like a month, which is insane to me, but I have it pre-ordered and I believe it comes out July 15th, give or take some days, I'm not sure. But anyways, that is all the books that I will hopefully be getting my hands on in the month of July, plus a bonus new release that I'm really looking forward to reading. Other than that, that is all I have for you guys. Thank you so much for sticking around and hanging out, listening to me yap about books that I want to read. And I cannot wait to see you guys in the next one. Bye!